Back after a brief break, you're watching South Texas Crossfire with attorney Joe Flores right here on KTMB. And thanks to the Lopez Broadcasting family for making it happen. And we have the honor of bringing on someone who is hitting national recognition, who has served our country, and who is getting broad-based support, even HBO. So we've got somebody who's a big deal, who doesn't think he's a big deal, very humble, very modest guy who comes from humble beginnings, but is running for office, seeking your vote to become our congressman right here in South Texas, and that is your Colonel, Wesley Reed. How are you?
Hey, Joe. Good to see you today, sir. Thanks for bringing me in, okay?
Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Well, for the voters, it's hard to reach everybody. We're trying to get San Pat and Nueces. If you could tell the voters a little bit about your training background, your family.
Sure.
Please, go ahead.
Well, 25 years in the Marine Corps this year. Fly F-18s for the Marine Corps, do staff work now. But, I grew up like everybody here in South Texas. Both my grandparents are farmers. I spent a lot of time on those farms helping them out, doing the standard farm chores, baling hay, throwing hay, working in the fields, milking cows, which is a lot of fun stuff when you're 8 or 10 years old. You're having a blast doing it. Went off and doing that to the normal teenage jobs, stocked shelves in a grocery store, threw papers for a long time, did landscaping, picked tobacco, worked in a factory, and then joined the Navy at the age of 19 while I was in college. And then came back from boot camp in the Navy, joined the Marine Corps Officer Program, came down here to South Texas in 1992 to fly on NAS Corpus Christi at NAS Kingsville. Left Kingsville in 94, went to fly F-18s in the Marine Corps. Met my wife here in Flower Bluff while I was going through flight school.
No way.
Yep. And got married in 1994. And her dad was a preacher on the south side in Flower Bluff. Her brother's farmers for the state over in Ingleside. Her brother's a preacher up north. But so they're a South Texas family. First time I came here, I was probably 3 years old at Del Rio. My dad was in the Air Force going through flight school. But came back permanently 6 years ago. Trying to make a difference here in the community.
Okay, and let's just cut to the chase. You've served, and thank you for serving, and for all veterans. I think that's one of the linchpins of your campaign. I'm hearing a lot of veterans, and no disrespect to the president, congressman, but I've heard a lot of people on base, a lot of veterans that are angry. They're worried. They're worried about their jobs. What is the difference between you and your opponent on working with veterans?
So here's the thing with veterans. When we signed the dotted line during World War II or Iraq or Afghanistan, we made a promise to our country willing to sacrifice our lives. In return for that, our country made a certain promise to us and our families that they were going to take care of us. And the current congressman in the government shutdown last year, he made comments as to why he voted to shut the government down, that because of national party goals, people need to make sacrifices back home, and that included the veterans. We had a lot of veterans here locally that worried they weren't going to get their disability payment checks. We had people on the base, basically the base shut down for almost a week. And CCAT is a very vital component to our nation's defense. They repair and refurbish all the helicopters in the Army, and a lot of helicopters for the Navy and the Marine Corps and the Air Force now. So, and then you fast forward to December and January, and the budget bill that was passed by then, that the congressman voted to cut active duty retiree benefits. And we don't balance the budget on the backs of our veterans. They have made sacrifices to our country. Their families have sacrificed, and we need to uphold the promises we've made to them. And I view that as a key difference between myself and my opponent.
Well, and I a lot of people want that relationship that you have because of the military, and also see you working with Congressman Vela.
That's right.
Right to the west of us. I was there last night with Joaquin Castro, San Antonio, and with Congressman Vela, and a lot of people here are worried that their jobs are on the line. Veterans that are worried, that are disabled, they've come back from Iraq and other campaigns, and saying, are my benefits going to get cut?
That's right.
So let's jump forward here. What are the other issues? You've been campaigning all around. How many counties?
There's 13 counties.
Okay, and so you've gone from farmers. And what are the farmers saying with the drought and everything?
Well, the farmers are concerned about water. Are they going to have enough water to continue to grow their crops? Are they going to have to sell their farms that have been in their families for generations and start a new business? So they're really worried about water and how they're going to get access to it. And in an economy like ours here in South Texas, where we do have lots of industry here, we have new industry coming in every day. They have a defined need for a certain amount of water that's conflicting with our farmers. So I think that our farmers want to make sure they have access to water in the future. And there are things that we can do on local government level and also on the federal government level to try and make sure that they do have access to water. I think the federal government can partner with the local government on desal projects, try and generate other sources of water for both industrial use and for farm use. But I think if we can find access to more water for our community, that solves the next national security issue we have. And we're getting past the energy security. I mean, we're becoming a net exporter of energy. Water is the next national security issue that I see.
Let me ask you this. When you're out there in the conservative areas, in the right-wing, quote-unquote, areas, I hate to use that term. I think most of Texas are very conservative, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent. But when you go out there, do people kind of scratch their heads and say, military, conservative, worked since you were able to walk, and saying, why should we vote for you, not vote certain party lines?
Well, what they want to see is someone that is like them, that has lived the same life experiences they have. And I don't really character myself as a liberal Democrat or a California Democrat or something like that. I just call myself a Texas Democrat. And what that means is that as Texans, we are very proud of our individual liberties and our individual heritages and what we've done in the past. And we really want to be able to continue to do our own thing. We don't want the government coming in and telling us what we should do and what we shouldn't do. And I think that's a big part of how I try to talk about with them, that there are certain things the government shouldn't be involved in our family and daily lives. And that really resonates with them. And so does the military card. Go in and talk about military issues. Everybody in the country respects our military. They appreciate what they've done for us. And what it does allows me to get in the door with Republicans, independents that vote Republican, and talk about the actual issues facing our community. And there's a lot of issues that are local here. And when you start talking about the local issues facing our South Texas communities, that's what resonates with them. There are issues on the national level that they're great to talk about over dinner or with your family or friends and getting a little small argument about. But that really doesn't drive what happens down here in South Texas. We're worried about our bases, worried about our veterans, worried about schools, infrastructure for our ports, water for our farms. That's what the people in South Texas are concerned about.
Well, and as one voter, my mom, was saying, you remind her sort of Lloyd Benson, because Lloyd Benson was a Democrat, but yet had a wide spread support, broad base. And I remember he could go down and talk with people in the valley and in Alice, and his favorite saying was, "Cuando todos votamos, todos ganamos." When we all vote, we all win.
That's right.
And he could really get out that base. And I'll never forget what he told, remember that election, you are not JFK, when we had Quayle say, try to compare himself to John F. Kennedy. Boy,
right.
He burned him good, we've got comparisons that are very favorable for you. It's hard to go against somebody with so much resources, and he's been here a long time. I've interviewed him. Rand Morgan, old money, old guard, but yet you've got conservatives that are helping you out, and then you've got guys on the left too that want to help you that you probably never even met before all this, like Bill Maher.
That's right.
And he wants to flip a district. What's all that about?
So the Flip a District campaign was really brought up by Bill Maher, and what he wanted to do is get input from the communities about who they thought was the worst congressman in America. And you had...
That just came out. I mean, like the worst congressman in America?
That was his idea, and what he wanted was the people in the communities to let him know who they thought was the worst. And so he asked people across America, hey, if you think your congressman is the worst in America, let us know. And we'll go through this list and we'll try and pick somebody out that we think we can go and flip a district about.
So it didn't come from him. Let's be clear.
That's right.
People from here contacted HBO.
That's right.
About this congressman.
That's right.
And they said he's the worst congressman in the U.S.?
Pretty much. And, my opponent likes to say that, liberal Hollywood elitists are attacking him, when in reality it was the people of South Texas calling this guy because he said, hey, you know, I'm willing to come in and try and do something if you tell me you think your congressman is not very good. So people of South Texas let him know that. You know, in the end, he picked John Klein up in Minnesota, which, you know, that's okay.
But your opponent was the top finalist for the worst congressman in the United States. That concerns me.
He was one of the final four, that's right.
He was the final four, so he's the runner-up for the worst congressman in in the U.S. That's scary.
It's time once again for our Flip a District update. We are down to a final four representatives, one of whom will wear the crown of congressman people most want to see out on their. Last week, John Klein of Minnesota was the first to go up on the board. This week, we head down to Corpus Christi, Texas, joining the final four. One of my favorites from the Tweet 16, Blake Farenthold. Come on down, Blake. Now, it'll take an act of God to unseat this guy because The Hill magazine named him #1 on the list of Congress members who benefited most from gerrymandering. But we can't pray him away. I'll take a good old-fashioned ground game any day, Corpus Christi. Remember, there are 2 weeks till our summer break, 2 more slots to go. Go to flipadistrict.com or #FlipADistrict.
Okay, so and that's no disrespect to.
And that pulls back to the fact that, you know, people are upset with him not worrying about local issues. He spends all his time talking about, you know, this think tank, what this think tank says, and what this think tank says, and not focusing on South Texas issues. And that's what the people in South Texas want. They want someone that's going to be able to walk down the street, you know, strike up a conversation with them so they can share their hopes, their fears with them, and actually connect with them. And they can see that when you answer a question that you truly empathize and understand what they're talking about, that you've lived that same kind of life, that you're wearing your heart on your sleeve when you talk to them, and there's a passion in your voice that you really want to help them out or try and find a solution for us to move forward. And that's really what South Texans want. They want someone to give them the opportunity to continue to excel, that if you work hard, if you persevere, you can become somebody, you can become better than you are today. And a lot of people are worried that that opportunity is not there for them now.
Well, very well said. We've got, and we're going to be having this on YouTube. I hope everybody from Bill Maher to Karl Rove sees this and let people know. And the PACs out there, I think you identify with everybody from, you know, America Rising, which is a conservative group, to HBO.
Well,
so.
You know, not to plug somebody else's show, but we went on Lago's show in the morning a couple weeks ago
Lago,
with the guest host.
Our good friend on the right side.
And after the 30-minute conversation was over, what they had to say was that, well, he sure sounds like a conservative Democrat to me, and maybe he's in the wrong party. So, I mean, but that's because you're willing to listen to everybody's issue. And in the end, you're here to represent everybody in the district, all 700,000 constituents. Not just Democrats, not just Republicans, not independents, but everybody. And you know, there's going to be things we're going to disagree upon, okay? But probably 70 to 80% of the things we can agree on and move forward on, and we can solve those problems. And if we continue to sit back and do nothing, if we continue to sit back and ignore members of the other party because they are members of the other party, we're not going to get anything done. And that's not what you're getting paid to do when you go to D.C. You're getting paid $175,000 a year to go to D.C. for 105 days this year to try and fix problems in America. And if you go there and you don't do anything, all you do is try and gum the system up, refuse to talk to people from the other side, then you're not doing your job. And from where I come from, you don't do your job, you get fired.
You ready to go to Washington and take it on?
Yes, sir.
The Colonel Goes to Washington. I'd like to make that documentary if I could.
That'd be super.
You know, Diamond Dave will be following you around during your campaign, during early voting. Hopefully we get to see you again.
Oh, you will.
Wesley Reed running to be our congressman here in South Texas for Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. Ladies and gentlemen, get out there and vote. And also, remember how important it is to be registered. And veterans, please go out there. Every single one of y'all, take 10 people with you to vote. So any last comments, Colonel?
No, voting is the key. You know, if you come out to the polls and you don't vote for me, that's fine. I just want you to exercise your right to vote, because that is something that really gives you a say in your government and what's going on. Ideally, you come vote for me because of the message I talk about, how I interact with the people in the district. But at the end of the day, as long as you go vote, however it falls out in the end, that's fine with me. Okay.
Wesley Reed running to be your congressman, our congressman here in South Texas. What's the magic number to call in case people want to get involved with your campaign, yard sign, or go block, walk, and stump for you?
So our number is 361-298-0519, and that's our campaign number. That rings to both my phone and to my staff's phone. I think it's important that the people in the district be able to talk to the candidate and find out really what they're about. But they can call and they can get a yard sign scheduled for delivery. They can find out our address downtown. We're at 823 Tonkawa. Website is wesleyforcongress.com. And we're on Facebook and Twitter as well. So please come join us. We can use all the volunteers that if you come down and you want to do some work, we'll put you to work and we'll make good use of your time.
wesleyforcongress.com. We're going to be taking a break, but remember, ladies and gentlemen, get involved y recuerde cuando todos votamos, todos ganamos. And we'll be right back. Thank you. Appreciate
Thanks, Joe.
it.
Appreciate it, sir.